A lot of backpackers bring dried fruit on their trips. In this video, I'm going to show you how to dry in your own mango. And so what I normally do when I'm looking for fruit is I actually go to that rack in the back of the produce section, that rack that has all of the old fruit that nobody wants to buy. Having worked in produce before, most Americans don't like to buy ripe fruit. As soon as fruit gets ripe, they think it's rotten and it doesn't taste good. So walking by the rack the other day at a store, I happened to find these 4 mangoes for $2. So for 50 cents a mango, I thought I would bring them home and dry them up for my next trip. First thing I'll do is take a vegetable peeler and peel off the skin. And normally what I'll do is for some of the fruit, I'll do it as strips, and some of the fruit will be pureed as kind of a fruit roll-up. I don't know why I just don't do all of one or the other. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But for this video, I'll kind of do half and half. So half of the fruit went into a puree and half got put on the baking pans. And if you happen to see in the picture, one of the mangoes was just too far gone. By the time I brought them home, I put it off. So one of them was too rotten to use. The strips are easy enough to just throw in the baking pan. All the chunks go into the blender and turn it into a puree, and then spread it out across a pan. I believe there's a special name for the spatula, an offset spatula. I think it's the one that kind of has a curve in it and it's really long, but that's the easiest type of spatula to use to spread this out. Obviously you can use anything you want. Use your fingers, use a spoon, but it is easiest with that type of spatula. Next thing to do is I put it in for 90 minutes to start with. I mean, it takes a lot longer than 90 minutes, but just for my mind, I like to kind of check it after 90 minutes and then usually pop it in for another 90 and then go from there. It all depends on how lazy I was, because the thinner you spread it, the easier it is. The thinner you cut the slices, the faster it goes. So if I'm lazy and everything's thicker, then it will obviously take longer. Put it in at 175, and again, it will normally take anywhere from 4 to 5 hours. For what I was doing, it took me a lot longer because I was able to put it in for like 2 hours, then I had to leave, came back, put it in for another hour, I had to leave, and so it took a lot longer than that overall. And when it comes out of the oven, this is what it looks like. I think mine might have been darker this time because they kind of sat around instead of just getting dried straight through. But on the left, you'll see what the strips turned into, and on the right, you'll see what the fruit leather, I guess you can call it that, turned into. So when you weigh it all out, you can see that all of the dried mango from the 3 mangoes, on the scale here it says 1.83. I'm going to guess that I've probably eaten about an ounce before I weighed this. Every time I check on it, I tend to eat one. When it came out of the oven, I tend to check one. I didn't do this video until the morning after, so during the night, every time I walked by, I grabbed one. So unless I package it right away, it usually gets eaten. But again, that's 1.83 ounces, so if you assume it was somewhere around 2.5 for the 3 mangoes. So people might ask, is it really worth it? And I think no. From a monetary time standpoint, it's not worth it. I think you probably end up saving a whole lot of time and money if you just went and bought a package of dried mango. But the reason why I think it's worth it is for that one little ingredient on the back of the mango package, and that is sulfur dioxide. After this video, just go type in dangers of sulfur dioxide, and you read a few articles. Dig down. Don't read the top ones that show up 1, 2, 3 on the top of the Google search from weird sites, but go down to some legitimate sites. And I think you might convince yourself after a few minutes that you might want to skip the sulfur dioxide too. Sulfur dioxide is actually banned from being used on fresh vegetables. So it's kind of strange that you can't use it on fresh vegetables, but it's allowed in vegetables and fruit. And I know it was banned after a whole bunch of people, I think it was like, 13 people or so died from ingesting it on fresh fruit and vegetables. If you have asthma, you can actually have an allergic reaction to it. And I think those are the people that died from it. So if I am buying fruit, I have to say I'm not hardcore. Sometimes I do buy the mango with the sulfur dioxide, but my goal is to look for fruit, especially in the future now, that does not have sulfur dioxide as one of the ingredients on the back. And also to simply start making more of my own. And I think it's worth it, you know, for those of us that spend all sorts of money and time trying to shave an ounce off of something like a flashlight in our backpacks. I don't understand why we shouldn't be doing more to protect our own health and spend an extra buck getting organic dried fruit that does not have a poison, toxic added to it.